Hello, fellow warriors. Welcome to a new episode of Divided, Survived, and Thriving, where I get to have candid conversations about turning the painful process of divorce into a positive force in your life. I am Laila Aitken Ali, a divorcee, a divorce coach, and the founder of Split.fyi, an online divorce community, rich in resources and information. I am super grateful to have these conversations with survivors of divorce who are willing to share their stories and how they overcame their battle scars to achieve peace and purpose in their lives. I do strongly believe, as some of you know, in the power of story. And I hope that their tried and true pearls of wisdom will help you guide you and your own process of separation and keep you in good company along the way. So, without further ado, my guest for today is Erin Poredos. I hope I said that right.
Poredos, but it's okay. Literally everyone says it wrong. It is totally fine.
And you know, it's my Italian in me. I always have to put like Poredos. You know, I'm so
we're very close on the map, so it's basically all the same.
It's all the same. Okay, good. Well, a 30-something happily divorced who is okay with people messing up her last name. Thank you very much.
No worries.
A self-love and discovery recovery coach. Erin empowers women to become the heroine of their own epic love story. And in today's conversation, we will talk about how shame and old limiting beliefs play a big part in holding you back from healing. Find out how having your own epic love story, what it means actually to have one. And why did Erin choose the word heroine? Because I love that. So Erin, welcome.
Hello.
Thank you for being here with us today.
Oh, thank you so much. It is an honor to be here.
Oh, well, you know, I think that, we've spoken before briefly and I got to know you. And I think not only is your energy, you really are just this happily divorced. And I know it wasn't always like that, but you're here now and showing up and really helping people through that process. So I think it would be great to get a little bit of background, if you're okay with it, share a little bit about what drove you to that calling in life.
Yeah. So as I sit here, it is quite surreal to be sitting here doing what I'm doing, because if you would have asked me 4 or 5 years ago if I'd be doing this, I would have laughed in your face.
Right.
But I sit here today because my journey from divorce has been hard, but it is taking this perspective of becoming your own heroine. Mm-hmm. And so I was in a relationship for 8 years. And throughout the relationship, I had anxiety and I knew something was off, but I continued to go through it. Right. Because I loved him, and he, on paper, this person like checked all the boxes. He was the whole package idea of what society thought and I assumed my family thought I should be with. Right. And so over 8 years, we became, friends with our families, and everyone became intertwined. And I just got into this relationship feeling like I couldn't disappoint anyone. I couldn't let go of the relationship because I didn't want to hurt anyone. I didn't want to, upset my family, upset my friends. And over the 8 years, I developed anxiety and depression, but I just assumed that was, anxiety. But it was my body actually telling me that something was wrong, and it was signaling, but I just wasn't listening. And so we go through the years of dating and end up getting engaged. And when you get engaged, you're supposed to be super excited and all the things. And I was, but the second that he asked me, it was like something in my heart of hearts was like, I don't know about this one. So, but yet I, again, said yes, went through it, and we ended up getting married. And on the day of our marriage, it was a friggin' hurricane storm. Like, it was like the universe was just saying, what the hell are you doing? Do not marry this man.
So your instincts just came into fruition with everything was trying to tell you exactly what your
Yes.
and we so it's incredible that our intuition never really it speaks to us, but we don't listen to
it. It's crazy.
Choose not to listen to it.
Yes. And so I went through that day feeling off, not feeling beautiful, which is something that you're supposed to feel on your wedding day. I was so consumed with my thoughts and feelings that I just I couldn't enjoy the day. And I get up to the aisle and I'm walking with my dad, and I literally feel like I am going to be sick. And I was walking down the aisle looking for, garbage pails to throw up in, and looking for, exits, because I'm like, I have so much anxiety. I don't even know what to do with myself, but I get myself out there in front of all these people. It was like a 250 people, and say my vows, and on goes the day, and I am married.
Now, this like visceral, sign that literally that you experienced. It's so interesting to me because I've heard this time and time again from people. They're like, I knew, my instinct told me, I felt sick, I felt ill, I was sweating, I didn't want to go through it, but they went through it anyway. And there's a accumulation of a lot of things, right? And I'm sure that you can share that with us, but so many times, and it is also the belief that you're letting other people down. So talk to us about that, because was that a real big force of why you went through with what you went through? I know you said you loved him, which, yes, there's love, but then something else is telling you something. So
yes, it was basically, I couldn't let go of, first of all, this dream that I had with the quote unquote perfect man, the wedding, the house, the future children, the white picket fence, and all of that stuff.
Right.
And on top of that, losing all of that and having to start over, and then dealing with the disappointment or the shame or the guilt, everything, all of those feelings after it. And you would think that, why don't you should have broken up with him earlier, or like you should have ended the relationship. But I am such a people pleaser,
right,
that I just I had to move forward. I do not fail. I don't fail at all. And so that was my thoughts going forward, is that I had to make this work, and I did everything to make that relationship work, and it was just not happening. And so when we decided to go our separate ways, and it was like, so we were married for 6 months.
Right.
And it was like a Kim Kardashian wedding. It was short and sweet, but there was a point in our marriage and going into our separation that there was a breach of trust. And if there wasn't that breach of trust and that whole thing happening, I might have still been with him.
Right. That's interesting.
And that is the part that I had to really overcome, because it was because I was letting down myself. Yeah. And I was letting down, my life, and kind of looking at that moment. And even though, that happened, and because it was against my morals, of like, it was just something that I couldn't forgive. And I had to move forward. And so there was just a lot of emotion around that separation and the breakdown of the marriage. But in the end, when it happened,
Mm.
I was sad, but I had this sense of relief that fell over me that was like, Erin, this is right. And it was like I knew. And I'm like, and then I had to like move out. I got my own apartment, and then I just started my life
Right.
and, rebuilding, and obviously having to feel all those feelings of shame
Mhm.
and of even like hate of myself of some points, because I was like, how could I let that happen? How could I let that happen to myself? You know, that feeling of like being around family and, I am divorced and everyone's, happy
Yeah.
with their relationships. And it was
Right.
really hard to be around friends and family. I couldn't deal with it, and no one understood.
Of
No
course.
one understood what that was like.
Well, and the thing is this, is that we also, and I know this because I've sat in your shoes, and it's like you also think they really don't understand you because they're not you and they're not going through it. And
Hmm.
they think they don't know what to say. It's like this
Yes.
dance that,
Yes.
people are like, I'm holding back because I don't think you'll understand. And they're holding back because they're like, we don't really know what to say, but we feel for you. And it's like nobody wants to open up the Pandora's box. And it's a really difficult dance to be around and a very lonely place to be. And I can imagine
Yes.
but then the shame comes in, where you're like, well, I'm not understood, and I didn't make it work. And it's a failure because
Yeah.
everybody goes through a divorce. And this is why I want, the initial reaction to anything, whether you want the divorce or initiate the divorce or not, it doesn't matter. There's
Yeah.
a sense of failure that goes with it. Like, this didn't
Yes.
work out. This didn't work out. And again, not only that didn't work out, but that idea of the perfect marriage with the picket fence and the perfect husband, that didn't work. So it's like everything that you thought of as a child to have
Yes.
and esteemed for was just also taken away from you.
Yeah.
So talk to me how this, and this is where, there's two things in here that I love. What you say is, that epic love story of yourself, right? Your own
Hmm.
love story. So many times we think a love story has to be with somebody else. And I really do strongly believe that we forget ourselves and our identity, who we are, what we are. We're not even thinking about it. In some
Yeah.
cases, you're young. You haven't even formulated that yet. Like don't even, you're still learning about all of those things. You're still learning until you're older. My dad always says, he's like, I'm never going to stop learning about, who I am,
Yeah.
what I want in life. So, all of that is really important. I think let's break that down about that love for self. Here you are, you're feeling guilty, you feel ashamed,
Hmm.
feel like a failure, misunderstood, and all these feelings that time and time again we talk about in the divorce world is very common. Everybody feels them in one way or
Yes.
the other. How do you start loving yourself again?
You just you have to start choosing yourself,
Yeah.
and choosing the things and the people that make you happy, and really cultivating that compassion for yourself. I think, and I'm sure many people going through divorce have dealt with in their life, the feelings of not feeling worthy, feelings of not deserving of love, um, and a lack of self confidence. All of those things were, very intertwined in my childhood.
Mhm.
And, I basically created my identity
Mhm.
out of having a relationship. And once I got out of it, it was like, okay, who the hell am I? I
Mm.
need to really just start from the bottom and go up. And so I started, you know, spending time with myself. And I guess like you could say they were like self-love dates,
Right.
where I would, stay in, and I would cook this meal, and I would have a glass of wine, and I would listen to jazz music. And it was just this very special moment with myself that I'm like, I've got this.
Mm.
I really do. And reading books and just allowing myself to feel, allowing myself to slow down, and listening to my body and my intuition. Because after going through that, I realized that my intuition is pretty damn good. It's pretty good.
And the universe works with you on it too, which is
so crazy. Like the universe is a very smart thing. Yeah. So it was just like listening to my body and what makes me feel good, and, you know, really taking my time. And there were points where I was like, okay, I'm ready to date. And I was like, not ready to date. And but it was all a process. And like, everyone's different, and whether or not you explore that avenue is up to you. But it is this process of learning how to be yourself again, learning who you are, what makes you, you know, what are your values? What do you value about yourself? And it was a long, like, cultivation process of that. And that's kind of how I got myself back to learning who I was. And I think I mentioned this story to you to get into the whole heroine idea. But so the Halloween after my separation divorce, I wanted to, you know, go out for Halloween, and my friend Marika and I were looking to go out on, I guess, that Friday night or whatever. And so I ended up choosing this costume, the costume of Tomb Raider. And I've always been a big fan of video games, Final Fantasy, all that, huge geek. And I put on this outfit, and I have never felt so damn empowered in my life.
Right.
That I was like, how do I encapsulate this feeling of empowerment every day? Why does it only have to be in a costume that you're wearing?
Right.
Why can't I just feel this every day? And so that was kind of the little light went on in my head.
Right.
But the years continued, and I was still, you know, working through my things. And then one night I ended up having this dream randomly about starting the Joy Tribe Co. And really, I wanted it to be this hub, this community of empowered women, of heroines, conquering their own love story. Because so often we, you know, wait for the man or wait for another person to rescue us.
Right.
And it's as if we are the damsel in distress on the tracks being like, okay, come save me. But you know what? You're the one that actually has to be the one that saves you. It's not going to be anyone else.
Right.
So in going through my journey, it made me realize that I have the choice to move on and to do the things that I want to do, and make a mark in the world, instead of, you know, sitting in my pain and just, you know, going through the process and not really allowing myself to heal.
Right.
And yeah, so that's really, it's been a process, but I feel so blessed to be on the other side of it.
Right.
And I want to be there for other women and men to really hone in on the things that make them a hero, that make them a heroine, making choices for themselves, like being able to do things that maybe they feel like they shouldn't do in terms of things that they love doing, but just doing it anyway because you want to do it, not because you know, should or shouldn't or any of that. But you're really just listening to yourself, and you're fulfilling what you want to do.
You know, it's listening to you. It's it's enlightening, because we hear this a lot. It takes something formational in your life or pivotal in your life sometimes to really understand that you sometimes never really knew who you were, because a lot of times we are just moving kind of like robots. Like, we do what we're supposed to be doing. Our parents tell us, have manners, do this, do that, say this, you can't say that, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't do that. We're always told what to do all our lives, right? And then we get in this ideal that we either are given through watching too many cartoons or reading books or friends or family, mostly family, this idea of what our life should look like, but it's never really tapping into us. What my key takeaway in all of this is what you are, the own epic love story of your own is such a beautiful way of saying, like, I like me. I like to hang out with myself. I like to be with me. And not many people can really say that. They want to fill the gaps in with being with a lot of people because it diffuses that situation. Like, listen, I'm an extrovert. I love being with people. I really do. But there are times that I'm like, wait a minute, but I actually really enjoy my own company too. And I had gotten to that point. I wasn't always at that point. So, and again, you fill yourself with these identities, like I'm a friend to this person, I'm a daughter to that person, I'm, a wife to that person. And you take these away, and in divorce, you're stripped from a lot of it, right? You're stripped not just from your partner, but you're stripped potentially from friends and that circle that you were in and the role that you were playing and all these things. And it's like, whoa. And it's so, and they're like, I don't even know if I even like me. And so getting to that point where you start liking yourself and getting to know yourself is so important. And I love, what you were saying and how you did. And those moments, those aha moments, like wearing the Tomb Raider outfit and just feeling that way and going, yeah, why should I be feeling this way all the time?
Yeah. It's quite cool. And just to relate life back to like a video game, where that's how I see life, is that you are going through all of these levels, and you're having to fight the fire breathing dragons, you're having to fight the packs of men with guns, you're going through these challenges and these hardships, and it's going to be difficult. But through those difficulties, you're going to gain the gifts, you're going to gain the strength, you're going to gain different tools you need to get to the next level, so that you can, experience life that is meant for you as well. And that it continues on until you die, basically. But really, it is just, life is all about the going through these experiences, and it's looking at them like an opportunity. And what is it that I can learn from this situation, or what is the universe teaching me right now that I have to learn? Because usually there is always a lesson within each of these difficulties that we go through. So I chose to see my divorce not as a failure, but as an opportunity to learn. And quite frankly, I see it as a success. Because I would not have found myself at all. No. I would have probably been still in a really shitty marriage. And, going through the motions, never actually realizing what an amazing life is.
So that's a great takeaway. Well, I have enjoyed this conversation, and I would love, I think that, you're such a great asset to so many people who are going through such identity shifts, and you're young, you're vivacious, and a lot of people at your age who experience something like that often are stuck in that story that they, how are we going to find another person? How are we going to have a family? How are we going to and they're so stuck in the what if or what would happen that they're not concentrating on themselves. So I highly recommend that they should be calling you and working with you. Because I really enjoy.
Well, I do too. Because that's the thing, like, I don't want other people to like experience that. Like, I want to wake them up. I want to wake people up.
100%. And it's not, and divorce is not the end. It's a beginning.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and I think, and I really wish the wording around divorce changed. I wish it was called something else. I don't know, like opportunity, or I don't know. It's gotten there's a stigma around that word.
Yeah. Yes.
Hopefully one day when our kids are older, that's what it will be. But until then, I really enjoyed this conversation. Where can people get in touch with you? And if they want to work with you, how do they find you? What's the best way?
Yeah, so you can visit my website. So it's www.thejoytribeco.ca. You can email me at info@thejoytribeco.ca. And then you can find me on Insta and Facebook at The Joy Tribe Co.
Yes. And I will put that in the show notes as well. Thank you so much for
thank you. This is such a lovely,
and being here with us.